Alright, the hiatus is over. Are we good? Are we happy? Was it really that bad, guys? How is everyone doing today, guys? My name is Tico's, and yeah, we're back with more Owl House. it feels weird to think about this hiatus that we were on. I mean, okay, I don't know why I did that. I mean, it was a hiatus because it has been a good hot minute. It hasn't it? I mean, I mean, I feel like Amphibia definitely helped fill in the gap, and then a few other shows, at least for me, helped fill in this gap between middle of August to here now with waiting for the second half of the second season of the Owl House. And yeah, here we are. This is episode 30 of the entire series, or episode 11 of season 2, Follies at the Coven Day Parade, which is a mouthful just to begin with. I mean, I'll admit, it was hard to really get a grip on what was gonna happen in this episode. I mean, the title alone, Follies at the Coven Day Parade, definitely gives you a few ideas, and then even the synopsis or the brief description of this episode was very vague, because it was talking about Luce, after her trip to the human realm, she plots a daring rescue mission during the Coven Day Parade, and I'm thinking, well, there's a few people she can rescue, so it doesn't really, it's not exactly easy to figure out who. I mean, you kind of can make a guess, and you may not be wrong, but overall, this episode throws a lot at you, and I mean, makes sense. We're in the latter half of season 2, the last full season of the Owl House. They really need to get a lot of information out and establish a lot of things before the series, and so yeah, okay, where do I want to start? I mean, let's start at the beginning. So we open with Luce. She's doing a video log for her mother because she is trying to figure out a way to come to a compromise with her, and I like that. I like that. One thing I was worried about for Luce in this half of the season was I thought she was trying to really keep this hidden from everyone, because at the end of yesterday's live, she didn't tell King, Ida, and Hootie what really happened when she went through the portal. So I thought she was going to spend somewhat of this latter half of the season, trying to keep it a secret, trying to deflect the issue with the portal and focusing on what's going on now with Bellows, or perhaps other things. And first, seems like she's working. I mean, she's doing it badly, but I mean, I'm just glad she's at least been talking about it. I mean, she told Eden, King, and Hootie at this point, they're flying around, and, King is like, there's no way your mom would make you leave the demon realm forever, and Eden's like, once she comes here, I'll just put on the charm that controls people like mindless zombies. And I'm like, just I mean, Luce herself tries to show the wonders of the demon realm, but instead she literally shows probably the worst of the demon realm. Bump doesn't help either, because she's at Hexside, and she's like, Hexside is magic and mnemonics, one of the coolest, safest places in the bowling house, right, Principal Bump? And Principal Bump's like, yes, and if people don't behave, we throw them into our newly improved detention pits. And then, of course, my question is, why did Luce zoom in on the kid that was being thrown in? I mean, I guess that was, whether that was more for the joke of the animation or not, it's still freaking weird. But, yeah, so basically Luce's plan to try and convince her mom to stay in the demon realm doesn't really work. and she's just distracted by it. It really does bother her. And it makes sense. I mean, was told that she needs to stay at the human realm once she gets back, and it's like, after everything she's been doing in the demon realm, about the relationships, it's tough for her, and I get that. I mean, that's understandable. I mean, stuck between two worlds, and you're like trying to find that balance, but people are like, no, you gotta choose one or the other. It's like, I mean, even Amity, Gus, and Willow, you know, they don't really know about it. I mean, they ask her about it, but Luz is like, oh, I haven't tried yet. I mean, Amity, on the other hand, I love we're getting more of Lumity here. I mean, makes sense. I mean, the two are a couple now, so we're gonna get a lot more interactions with them, and it's really cute when Amity calls Luz a sweet potato in Spanish. Although it's just, oh man, I feel so, I don't know, is it a running joke with Gus that he really doesn't know the human stuff? I mean, that's probably been asked multiple times up to this point, but I mean, Amity wants to learn Spanish, and Gus gives her a cookbook. Okay. I mean, oh man, I feel so bad for Gus. I'm really... I mean, he's had his moments, but I mean, I feel like they've always been overshadowed by everything else, and then anytime he really does get, like, a solid moment, it's either a joke or... a joke? But yeah, so... Amity, Amity, she's really wanting to help Luz in this situation, and she gets an opportunity when Luz leaves her phone behind, and Amity sees that the video is there, but she doesn't look at it. I like that too. I like that she's conflicted about that, because she wants to help, but she doesn't want to invade Luz's privacy like that. She wants to give Luz a chance to tell her what's going on, but of course that's the question. Will Luz actually talk to her about it? So Amity has that little, like, subplot throughout the episode. However, the main plot of this episode is the Coven Day Parade itself, because Luz, Ida, and King, they're in Bonesboro, and they see that there's guards everywhere, and they're setting up for the parade. And well, King says, like, it's a nice festival, it's a parade of fire, floats, fireworks, and then Ida's just like, yeah, well, it's just a day where Emperor Bells can, it's like Emperor Bells says, kiss my... I just love that little frame of, like, of Luz holding King's ears, just like, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare. But, yeah, no, so Ida, obviously, because of everything that's happened, she hates Bellows. Oh god, that's pretty much well known at this point, so why am I even trying to act like that's a surprise? But Luz, on the other hand, of course, again, she is very distracted by the fact that what's going on with her mom. However, a few things come into play that she kind of tries to work to her advantage. The first one being Kikimora is having a situation where she has to make a choice between being at this parade or going to see her family, which is... Oh man, I was a little bit caught off guard by that, because, I mean, up to this point, Kikimora has been... She's been sinister, she's been a bit, deranged in a way. I mean, I feel like in terms of, like, sympathizing with her, it's like, you get I guess you can kind of see with her, like, bitterness with Hunter, like, that little rivalry, and, like, maybe it's just, like, she's like, so stressed out that she's literally freaking the heck out, and she's willing to do anything to do her job. But in this situation, she's just a complete mess, because she's stuck between being at the parade and wanting to go home, or I'm not really wanting to go home, and it's just like her family wants to see her, and they say, of course, it's like, if you don't come back, you'll be banished from this home forever, and it's like, okay, So, okay, but, yeah, so Luce overhears that conversation and feels for her in the moment, and and then that accompanied with the fact that King completely spills the beans about Rain to Luce, even though I love that, I love that whole sequence. King's like, Lewis gets one, and then Lewis is like, King, no bread puns today, and I'm like, okay, bread puns, ha ha ha. That's from Really Small Problems. Never liked that episode. I mean, not that everything was bad about it. It was just there's a few things that weren't solid with, but I mean, bread puns, haha. But King's is like, Ida hired someone to spy on her ex. And I love Ida's first response. She literally just turns to King with anger and she's like, have you been reading my diary? That's so freaking funny. I love that. I love it. I mean, I was wondering if Luce knew about Rain, so this episode confirms that she didn't, but she does learn about Rain, and I love Luce starts tearing up after seeing like the all the information about Rain and just being like, oh, they gave their lives to save you. That's just like a story I get to in book 5, and I'm like, oh my god. And then this part caught me off guard. They actually had a recording of the of Ida's Requiem, like the song that she and Rain played. I'm like, wait, how did they? Who was recording? Did Ida have that in her hair? It's like what? Yeah. So Ida figures out that Rain, after their capture, is still a part of Ember's Coven. So she's a little confused as to how Rain was able to get out of that situation. So, of course, Luce is like, why don't you just talk to them? And so that's where they get the idea of like, well, they're going to be at the Coven Day Parade and Kikimora is at the Coven Day Parade and she wants to get out and she can be our way inside. So, like, that's the kind of the deal they make with Kikimora. They promise that they'll kidnap her so that way she can go to see her family and come back and just make it look like, oh, I didn't leave the parade, I was kidnapped, what was I supposed to do? It's like, so and of course it's just that being they kidnap Kikimora, they kidnap Rain as well, so Ida can talk to them, and it's like, solid plan. But of course Ida's a bit suspicious too. It's like, wait, I know what I'm getting out of this, Kikimora knows what she's getting out of this, what are you getting out of this, Luce? Is like, yeah, what is Luce getting out of this? And of course, what Luce is getting out of this is, one, well, actually, really, it's just one thing, and that's just like trying to prove that you can have the best of both worlds. Is like Kikimora can still be part of the Ember's Covenant, and she can go see her family. It's like there are those sides to it, and like, okay, that's cool, that's nice. But of course, at the same time, it's like, what's gonna happen? Yeah, so pretty much all that's going on while Amity, like I said, she's contemplating what to do with Luce because, you know, she has the phone, and she even goes to see Willow about it. I like that scene between her and Willow. I like that it's very brief, but just, you know, they acknowledge that. They acknowledge that it's been a while since she actually has gone there by herself to Willow's house. It's been a while since they actually got to do nice little things like Amity braiding Will's hair, which was a nice little scene. So it's the little, I mean, again, it's just those little details that fans been like, whoa, how come we haven't seen this yet? How come we've seen that yet? So it's like, here, you got it right here. But, yeah, so basically, I don't know where to go from here. Let's just go back to the parade. So Amity decides to go to the parade, but she's kind of remaining inconspicuous. That's the exact opposite. No. I'm just like, she has a cloak on, she's moving around, so like, I mean, trying to blend in, but that's also a bit suspicious at the same time. I don't know. But Yeah, so she's just there incognito and trying to watch the parade while Luce, Ida, King, and Hootie, they have their whole scheme, and that being King and Hootie are in this float of Emperor Bellos that they created through a lot of different materials, including Edric. I love that little bit with Edric, which is like he's like this smuggler, this like fireworks dealer, and he's just like, here, I got this. And it's like, wait, why is there an 11 on there? It's like, oh, that's how many times I went to the healing coven. And then, of course, the King's like, wait, are these legal? And then Edric's like, well, is making them legal or not legal gonna change anything for you? And the King's just like, he's just got all of the fireworks. But, yeah, so the plan is King and Hootie are gonna be in the Bellos float, and then they're gonna launch a series of fireworks that can make fun of Bellos, and it's so freaking generic. It's just like, but it's so funny. It's like Bellos, more like Boolos. And so of course it's just like the guards at the Coven are just like, should we do anything about that? And Kiki's like, oh yes, of course, go after them, then do something about it. So of course the guards go to the float with King and Hootie. Also, I love that they have their spells, but they're holding it like this. It's just like what? It's like, is it gonna be like combat? You're just gonna do finger guns? But yeah. So while that's going on, Ida and Luce sneak in to take Rain and Kiki. Luce goes off with Kiki while Ida goes off with Rain, and then from there we have a few confrontations because Rain is not exactly Rain. I mean, they're not 100% completely like non-recognizable. I mean, they still have that personality. I mean, I like their moment with Kiki before the parade. They're just like, oh, shouldn't you be practicing on the float? And then Rain's like, you know how I feel about these performing in front of an audience, people in general. It's just like, ugh. I like that little bit. It's those little moments that make it funny. But of course, Rain doesn't remember what happened over the last month. She's like, in my head, it's so hard to remember what happened in the last month. I mean, she was sick for the last month, as she was told, but all she has to do is drink the tea from probably the creepiest Coven head so far, and that's Terra Snapdragon, she's the head of the Plant Coven, and it's just, she doesn't need to deliver much with her voice. It's just every single line and her appearance just sends a chill down your spine. And it's like Deborah Wilson voices her, and Deborah Wilson is, I guess she's definitely more known for video games that she's been in. She's been in, she was Amanda Waller in Batman Arkham, in Batman the Telltale series. She was in Jedi Fallen Order. I forget the Jedi Master's name in Fallen Order that she was. I'm pretty sure she's also gonna be Amanda Waller in the upcoming Suicide Squad game. So like, she's, at least from what I've seen, she's more video game aspects. So for her to be here was pretty cool and very creepy with her voice. But yeah, so she's been making this tea for Rain, so when they drink it, their memories are a bit foggy, and it's like everything that's happened, and it's like basically everything that in terms of her rebelling against the Coven has just been gone. So everything that happened with them and Ida up to that point is like a bit foggy too, and like Ida, of course, is like very confused at first, but then they realize like, oh, they're not exactly them, so how do I get through to them? And like the two have a pretty they have a pretty, I wouldn't say too intensive a fight, because Ida even points it out, like, I know you're going easy on me, Rain. And it's like, Rain, I like the way Rain fights. I mean, because, well, one, they still have their violin, and it's like they keep sending out they send out like like sound waves. They're like acting as like razor blades, or not. Yeah, kind of. They even conjure a little storm to shoot lightning, which is funny because, you know, haha, rainstorm. But Eden, you know, doesn't get through the rain, and Rain is very aggressive, but they're very understanding. You know, it's like, I'm giving you, they're like, please just leave, just give me, you have one chance, just go, just don't contact me again. It's like, don't. It's like, Ida, of course, is really torn by that, but she eventually complies and leaves. And yeah, man, that was just rough for her and Rain, because we know Rain is not 100% Rain, and we just can't really imagine what's going through Ida's mind in terms of that, and it's just, whew. Of course, on the other end of that, you have Luce and Kikimora, who, they're trying to escape, but Kiki is terrified of Terra, who nearly catches them. I mean, Terra is trying to bait Kiki out by talking about a promotion, and then she even conjures like a spike vine to try and stab Luce, but luckily Amity caught up to them and holds off Terra for a minute just to give Luce and Kikimora a chance to escape. And I love Luce. It's like, how did you know? And then Amity's like, Azora, there's like Azora rescuing Hecate in book 5, and it's like, oh yeah. I mean, Luce even like quoted Hecate in the freaking kidnapping. It was like, Kikimora's like, unhand me! And then it's like, Luce is like, oh no, I am Hecate of this, and I am going to, and Kiki's like, really? And Luce is like, I didn't know I had to practice any lines. But Luce and Amity, they escape with Kikimora, and they eventually get to the docks where they have that, where the hand dragon is. I love 2 things. 1, it's called Princess. 2, I love that Luce gives it back to Kikimora to be like, hey, yeah, so Bum couldn't keep this thing anymore, so hey. But unfortunately, everything kind of falls apart when Kiki takes the idea of being Herber promotion very seriously, and so she turns against Luce and Amity, which leads to another solid fight sequence between them. I liked how, because Amity and Luce, you know, they've been working together a lot, they have their own little magic combos, like Luce conjures an ice spell and Amity launches a fire spell to cause a little smoke, or yeah, like steam, you know, this little snow freeze, and then it's just like, they continue to run, Makiki catches up to them, and so then Amity has like an abomination gauntlet machine gun, which just, I love, she conjures the fist and then cocks it, and then Luce puts another ice glyph on it, and then all of a sudden it turns into an abomination fist machine gun ice. And it's just, it's cool to see that, you know, like Kiki and her dragon get hit and just in a case in ice, falls through the docks, but then it sprouts up behind them. And it seems like Amity and Luce are trapped, but then Terra intervenes, and at first I'm like thinking, oh, what's gonna happen here? But Terra's like, oh, Kiki, you're getting a little ahead of yourself, aren't you? And it's just like, oh no, and it's like, yeah. So it turns out Terra wasn't at the parade to keep an eye on Rain, she was actually there to keep an eye on Kiki to see just how loyal she was, and this was a test. And so Kiki's like, oh, so I got the promotion? And I love Terra's response. She's like, unfortunately, yes. I mean, I like how each of the heads so far, they have their sinister side, but they do have that little bit of a personality, just like, I mean, it's a very sarcastic, snarky personality, but it's still funny. I mean, again, I part of that is probably due to the delivery of these actors, like Deborah Wilson. She's a really good actress, so of course she's gonna be able to take some of these pretty straightforward lines and give a little like personality to it, to either make it funny or to either make it creepy. And I felt like in this case she made it a little funny, and so Kikimora, of course, is like, so what do I get? Who is my authority over? And then of course Terra's just like, you get to live. And it's just that was one of the lines where I literally felt a chill go up my spine. I'm just like, oh. I mean, Kiki definitely didn't have, like, she had a few moments of sympathy, but then of course it's like when she backs out of the deal because he overheard the promotion. And I even love Luz is like, what about your family and your home? And then Kikimoto's like, say, my home can burn to the ground for all I care. And it's just like, yeah, there's the Kikimora everybody knows and hates. It's like, wow. But yeah, Kiki is definitely terrified after the experience because, I mean, now that she knows that her life was literally on the line, suddenly shakes things up. But, after all that, you know, the Terra then gives a little something to Luz, being like, oh, the Emperor's looking forward to seeing you again, human. And it's just like, uh-oh. But Terra and Kikimora leave, Amity and Luz on the docks, and of course, Luz is just happy to see Amity's okay, but of course, Amity is like, so, what's going on? It's like, Amity, of course, like, Amity gives Luz back her phone, but says, you know, I didn't watch the video, because I didn't want to invade your privacy, but of course, at the same time, I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. It's like, I like that. I like that little moment between the two because it shows, one, how far the two have come, both in terms of like where they started and where they have been as a little couple. I mean, they haven't really been. It's hard to tell just how long they've been a couple, but I mean, we've only had. I mean, we had we had them together and Knock Knock on Hoon's Door. Then we had Eclipse Lake, and that was pretty much it. Like Yesterday's Lie, there wasn't really anything in terms of Amity and Luz, but. So I'm glad that here it's like Amity wants to help Luz, but of course she has to see if Luz will open up to her, and Luz does. She tells Amity what happened, and so we don't get to see Amity's real reaction to it. So I mean, but she does know something didn't go well. She knows that Luz did go to the human realm, did see her mom, and it didn't go well. She knows that part, or at least suspected that part, and so. I feel like Amity is gonna have somewhat of an understanding with that, you know, because like with her mom, it's like there's that tension, and it's like, granted, Luz with her mom, it's not exactly an exact mirror of Amity and her mom, but it's like you can definitely see a few similarities, not too many, but a few similarities. But yeah, so after that, they just go back to the parade, and then they see the Emperor is there, and he's giving a speech about the Day of Unity, which is exactly 1 month from the Coven Day Parade, and it's like, okay, there's our clock, what's gonna happen? And so Bellows then says, like, on this day when the tide is at its lowest and the moon is blocking the sun, so a solar eclipse, they go to the head of the Titan of the Isles, where they will have the utopia free of wild magic, and I'm like, what's gonna happen? And of course it's like, well, we know from Hunting Talisman that there is the talisman, there's the portal, there's like that spell, deceiving with the human realm and the demon realm. So my theory is this. All the Coven heads, everyone who is loyal to a Coven goes to the head of the Titan, and Bellows, and with this powerful spell, it's gonna teleport everyone to the human realm. I feel like Bellows wants to leave the demon realm. I feel like. Part of me wants to see him want to conquer the human realm, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what's going to happen to the demon realm if he wants to do that? I mean, unless they try to merge it, but of course it's like, he wants to get rid of all wild magic, so I'm like, how are you going to get rid of all wild magic? And I'm like, maybe he's going to leave the Boiling Isles to rot, or maybe he has like a plan to make sure everyone on the Boiling Isles, like, bites the dust beforehand. It's like, why? I mean, he's having everyone gather at the head of the Titans. So I was like, something's going on. It's like, whatever it is, it's hard to say, but it definitely leads people on a, yeah. But then, to top it all off, like, Bellows even takes off his mask, because he's like, oh, I was afraid to show my face, but your support helped helped me really open up, and now you can see my face. And a part of me was wondering if they were actually going to show, like, his legit face that we saw in, what was it? Eclipse Lake. I was wondering if he was going to have, like, some makeup on him and being like, oh no, he looks like just a regular witch. But no, he actually keeps the slash across his face. And I'm like, okay, so it makes sense, because it's like, there was that part. It's like, oh, what? It's like, what is? We never seen his face. What's under that? It's like, you know, there was those few theories. Like, I mean, Amity nearly nailed it on the head, because she's like, oh, I heard he was scarred of wild magic, and it's like, I mean, that kind of looks like a wild magic thing, but. Yeah, so now everyone in the Isles knows who Belos looks like, and so it's like, oh, well, this is getting more and more intriguing. But of course, for Amity, you know, she's very worried, but of course, Luce is like, looks like we're just gonna have to take this one day at a time. And it's like, yeah, that's the best way to describe it. I mean, so, yeah, this episode was crazy. It's just, a lot was thrown our way, but nothing felt too overwhelming. Because honestly, all these points made sense. You know, Luce being stuck with that idea of only picking one of the other, Ida with Rain, Amity and Luce, those talking about what's gonna happen in terms of the Day of Unity, because now Belos has Titan's blood, which means he doesn't have to worry too much about the portal. It's like, a lot of pieces moving, and of course the question is where all of this is gonna go. And oh man, yeah, no, this episode was nuts. And honestly, it does feel weird to come out of the hiatus with this. I think part of the reason for this is because I've been so busy lately. So when I did hear that, oh, it's coming back on March 19th, I'm like, huh, okay. But I mean, of course, the one thing that makes this feel so weird is the fact that this isn't the only show that came out of their hiatus. It's like, there's another show that came out of their hiatus, and it's like, oh boy. And if you're wondering if I'm going to be talking about that, oh yeah, I am definitely talking about that other show. But for now, this was the Owl House. This was episode 30, Follies of the Coven Day Parade. I liked it. It was a good episode. I liked the things that they were in. I liked some of the moments. There were a lot of funny jokes, and I also just like some of the animation here. A few of the fight sequences, including some of the creative uses of magic, was also really cool. And anything else I'm missing? Oh wait, one more thing. I just love that because we have Lumini now, and it's like Dana. I feel like Dana now, and like anytime she's able to show really Lumini, she just like is. I can just imagine her just thinking about the Disney execs and just being like, "Yeah, we got Lumini. Deal with it." It's like, I think the perfect example is when Luce it's near the beginning of the episode, Luce sees Ethan and King coming in, and she's like, oh, gotta go, and she just kisses Amity on the cheek, and it's like, it's so good. I mean, again, like, Amity's just, her face just goes red, and she's like, it's so funny. And again, little moments like that that do a lot for the fans. And again, I feel like Dana, every time she sees something like that, she's just like, yeah, take that, Disney execs. And so, is that everything? Yeah, that sounds about it, right? So, okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. Do you know what I have to? I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.